Sure. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for explaining about our progress. For sure, it's lots of work that we already made, but also a long road to go for Nuxt3. Today, I'm going to continue with some new updates, exciting updates that we was working on Nuxt3, and some of them are going to introduce very soon. I'm Pooya. I'm framework lead at Nuxt, and basically all the time working on Nuxt. Today, I'm going to talk about some different sections. First, about the new tooling that we created for Nuxt module loaders. The second project is the Nitropack project that we started almost 1 year ago, and it's evolved, and now it's a major project that will be used as the main server engine of Nuxt, but also opening a way for the whole ecosystem and community to use it to create their own powerful servers. The other one is the native extension support in the Nuxt, which Sebastian mentioned for theming, and it's a wide area to discuss. The other thing is the pull request we just merged a few seconds ago. It was test utils. Probably I can't demonstrate it today with you, but very soon you can see it. And the last thing I want to talk about the Insiders program that we are working on. So without further ado, let's go for module tooling. I'm quickly going to start a new Nuxt project using Nuxt CLI. Nuxt init and a name of the directory. It can quickly just create a Nuxt project for us. I'm installing dependency using Yarn version 1 because Yarn is the package manager that Nuxt is consistently being tested against, but very soon it can support also other package managers such as PNPM. So now we have a basic Nuxt project. If you heard about Nuxt modules, Nuxt modules allow you to extend functionality of Nuxt, adding some runtime code, and if that logic and functionality is good enough, we could share it with the whole ecosystem using an NPM package. It was a powerful feature that we had since Nuxt 2, and it was making it easier for the users to add more integrations without caring about or learning how that exactly works or maintaining them. It's possible to create also local modules to try them. So I'm going to just try one module to demonstrate, maybe my CMS. And modules are basically basic functions that accept some options and can access Nuxt. And the way of using them is to add them to the module section inside Nuxt configuration. And if, as you can see, when we start Nuxt development process, this module gets running. In Nuxt 2, this smart building block was powerful enough to support every possibility to extend Nuxt projects, but quite often it was hard for module others to follow. Imagine if you want to support an option in the configuration for the users, and like token something. This configuration had to be loaded by the module itself. So we had to access somehow from Nuxt, which is usually the second parameter. And well, as you can see, also it wasn't typed enough. So you had to basically guess what's the possible options. And yeah, so the other thing was that there was some defaults. So for example, for your CMS integration, you would want to add some default options, but also let the users to customize them. For supporting them, basically, developers could use something like an spreading operation and like default option something. But as soon as if we want to support nested options like arrays, if we want to support nested configuration, it was hard. So we had to use packages like defu to assign these defaults. And for the next things, the modules had to also export some metadata about their name and version. It has to be also manual. So we had to import name and version from package.json and export it as metadata. So this far was like the base experience in Nuxt2. And the next thing that the users had to care about was to how to actually extend Nuxt configuration and Nuxt behavior. So basically, modules could modify anything from the Nuxt options. They could use Nuxt hooks, like using Nuxt hook or calling a hook. They could also add some templates and different things. But since there was like repetitive things, there was an entity called module container. Using this, we could use these utilities for adding a template or something else. But there was a main issue with using this behavior and this way of developing Nuxt modules. The first thing it was, as you can see, there was lots of boilerplate. The module authors had to do their own custom stuff for how to handle an option, how to extend Nuxt options, how to provide metadata. And it was quite often hard to create just a simple module. The other very important thing was the dependency on this module kit. As you can see, this instance is passed using the main Nuxt integration that is installed by the end user. So if we had a bug fix in Nuxt and the module was depending on it, all their users was not having it because they was depending on basically an outdated version of dependency. Also, it was making backward compatibility issues. That's basically that module had to have a minimum version of Nuxt to be supported. Starting with Nuxt3, we introduced a new package and set of utilities for module authors to make their life easier called NuxtKit. Using NuxtKit, we don't need to do most of this manual stuff and can directly benefit from the utilities that are designed for module authors but are decoupled from Nuxt core. So module authors can use it as like a development kit, software development kit, and ensure their modules, as long as using latest Nuxt kit, can be compatible with any possible Nuxt version without worrying about the dependency versions. So using Nuxt kit, there is a first utility called define Nuxt module. Instead of defining an untyped module like this, we could have something simpler. And using define Nuxt module, there are some options. First of all is defaults. So we could have like default option here. The other thing is the metadata, which is a way more powerful namespace. We could provide metadata for modules. The configuration key that is expecting like my CMS instead of just manually doing this. And we could also, now we can specify the compatibility with different versions of Nuxt or the other dependencies like other modules that it requires or if bridge it's required. And the good thing is that this way, at runtime, modules can be ensured that the users are using an expected version and they don't need to do this manually. And most important thing is the setup function, which is almost similar to the basic Nuxt module setup, but it provides the merged options, so we don't need to get them, and also Nuxt. It's pretty much the same, but as you can see, it's much more readable. It's fully typed from the merged options. As you can see, it's inferred. There is a default option because just we provide the defaults. And in addition to this, we can now benefit from lots of utilities from NuxtKit for installing another module, for resolving a path, for using Nuxt instance, adding a template, and all of these utilities are extendable, unlike module container that was existing in Nuxt 2. But we didn't stop from here because this is a simple module. We want to push it to the production. We basically need to build this module. And for building this module from TypeScript to a format that is used by end projects, we need the tooling. So we created a new project called Nuxt Module Builder, which is automatically doing all of this stuff, building the module, extracting the metadata for consuming by website and Nuxt itself directly, and also auto-generating the required types. All we have to do to start a new Nuxt module package is again using npx nuxt init with another extra parameter called t, and if template is module and Nuxt3 Nuxt module, it will create this project for us. And as you can see, a Nuxt module template already has all of the necessary setup. It has a nice playground that when we are developing the module, we can try the features inside it. And the module code itself is exporting a special interface called module options. And using this module options, it can also polyfill the Nuxt configuration. So in the IDEs, there is an autocomplete, and it can type check the configuration that is expected by the module based on the metadata that we are providing to it. I'll quickly try to show you how the distribution works. Basically, by running yarn build, there is also a prepare script. It has to be run before actually building the module or starting the development mode, because modules are depending on some types that are extended from auto-generated test configuration, as Sebastian showed. Like, you don't have to even worry about how TypeScript works. There is an already pre-configured version of the TypeScript. And after preparing the project, we can actually build it. And as you can see, the output of our simple module that was defined like this is all of these files. There is a native ESM version of the module that is transpiled automatically. There is a wrapper for CommonJS when users in Nuxt 2 or CommonJS environments are requiring the module. There is an auto-generated TypeScript based on the options that we were providing to it. And all of these are basically possible with just simple command. Also, it's possible if a module is providing some runtime code, like some Nuxt plugins, they are automatically transpiled and added to the distribution, which this file is going to be published in the npm actually. So as you can see, it's making life much easier for the Nuxt users and module others, but also providing some new advanced functionalities, which in Nuxt 2, while was possible, there was quite hard to implement and have at this module. Well, now it's just a simple command that can build this module for us. So this was basically the new improvement that we made for Nuxt modules. You can read more about it in the Nuxt documentation, and of course, feel free to reach us if you have some ideas to improve this module experience, module creating experience. We are always open. The other project that we was working on was Nitro. Nitro was basically the basis for Nuxt3 server engine. We wanted to support more than Node.js targets, also Cloudflare workers. And for this, we needed a special server implementation. Nitropack project is almost ready to be published, and is now under an experimental flag for Nuxt3, which we could easily enable it using experiment Nitropack. And in addition to the current features that Nuxt3 is supporting for the server side, like API routes, auto types generation, it's providing now some enhanced features, including better presets for supporting better node, and 3 special things that I'm going to present you today. So for this, I'm directly going to start a Nitro project, which is also similar to a Nuxt project, but we could directly use Nitro to use it to create any Node.js server without actually depending on Nuxt. So to create a new Nitro project, all I have to do is to create a new directory, Nitro app. I have to add Nitropack package. And an API file like test.ts. And I can use, similar to Nuxt, Nitro dev to start the development server. And as you can see, the API server is ready, and we could use API test with some API. Let's have something like hello, and the name of the file is mapped to the actual route. And unlike Connect and Node.js itself, we don't need to use request and response. We could directly return an HTML. And it just works. So this is all you have to do to create a Node.js server, just creating a TypeScript file and adding the dependency. And we could also actually build this project for production. When we run a Nitro build, it generates a fully standalone output directory with a server dir and all of the code that was required for deploying this app to production. And this directory could be directly moved to a server or to a cloud provider. And the good thing about it is that this API is also super portable. So we could, instead of building it for Node.js, we could use Nitro, an environment variable called Nitro preset. And now all of the code is magically being converted to an entry point that is able to be deployed to Cloudflare workers. So I could directly go to my Cloudflare account and deploy this entry, and it's a worker script. So we don't even need to change any bit of the code to make it supported for other environments. Nitro is providing support for different bases, like the provider itself, for storage, for caching. And caching is one of the new features that we introduced in Nitropack. To enable caching, all we have to do is to import from cache. Before doing this, let's make API a little bit more slower. So I'm going to create another API called test. And in this test API, I'm going to add a little timeout. So to emulate an API route that is not fast enough. If I open the API, it takes, as you can see, a few seconds to make the response actually to the end user. And this is actually a real world use case because most of the APIs are doing database fetches, doing some async operations, and it takes time. But we don't want end users to suffer from this performance issue. So Nitropack is introducing a new, very easy way caching system that we can cache actually every possible route that we want. For doing this, we could just import cachify handle from cache, which is a virtual alias that's Nitro providing, and simply just wrap our handle to this cachify handle. And now I can use strategies like a stable revalidation. So I can say like 2, and this means that whenever first time the API hit, save its response, and the next time that we are visiting the page, it's possible to do the background update and just respond the user as soon as possible with the latest response we had. And as you can see, first time I'm opening the page, it's taking a little bit of time, but the next time is quite fast. And if I keep refreshing, the update date eventually gets updated for the second, but it's not blocking the users because the actual response is cached. And this cache during development mode is automatically mapped to the file system, to the cache directory, and with the automated keys, and with this value and the required integrity times and validation times. And the interesting thing is that the integrity is automated. So if I update the implementation of this test API, and like I make it 2, it immediately has to get updated. As you can see, it's bypassing the cache because the integrity usually changes when we change the implementation, and it's actually generated from the implementation of function. It's actually also possible to provide an integrity key explicitly if you have other dependencies to the handle, but usually out of the box it should work perfectly. There's also one more caching possibility with Nitropack, which we need to use the configuration for it. It's allowing us to have behavior similar to Nuxt3 generate that pre-renders or pre-generates us a static version of every possible route. So when we deploy the application to the server in production, we already know the responses. We don't need to run a Node.js server, for example, to generate those responses. Currently, to make it possible, we have to create a configuration file. We have to define configuration. And we have a new option called pre-render. And we could specify the routes that we want. I want both routes to be pre-generated. When I run yarn nitro build, a server bundle will be generated, and seems my Nitro is using an outdated version. Yeah, the config file was wrong. Well, as you can see, after the main server is getting built, a second server will be generated. And this server is special and lightweight just for the peer generation. And it doesn't have lots of dependencies, so it's much quicker to build. And it peer generates all of the possible routes for us. And as you can see, now we have a new public directory. It understands the extensions because the hello one was returning an HTML and test was returning a JSON. And it's just peer-generating all of this. So this means that I can directly publish this public directory to the production, and the responses are pre-generated. This is going to be a more advanced pattern in Nuxt. And using macros and generic route definitions, we could set a group of the routes that we want to be cached and specify their strategy. But Nitro is powering it using these smaller building blocks. So if you need more control, you could always opt in to use these lower level APIs for caching and peer generation. But this is going to be even much more easier when using a Nitro Nuxt-based project. The other thing we was working on, which wasn't already mentioned, I can quickly show you how it works with Nuxt theming. It's a long-lasting feature. We had an RFC for it for Nuxt2, was basically how we could extend a Nuxt application or split it into smaller sections. Usually when we want to make a bigger project, there are some shared configurations, some shared files and pages that are repeated between our projects. And to just support it, it was almost no way in Nuxt2 to just share these functionalities, and it's now possible fully to do this in Nuxt3 using a new extends option. Extends seems simple, but it's a really powerful API that you could extend your project from different packages. Imagine I have a team, or like, which itself is a Nuxt project. And with my team, I'm going to provide some built-in function components. To actually use this theme, all we have to do is to extend it from a local directory, and that's it. If now I run the development server, I can actually should be able to use theme button. In my application, as you can see, by just specifying this theme extends, it's loading everything from here. But it's not limited to this. We could also provide some runtime config, for example. And it can also be accessible in the main project, and we can actually override it. So this is basically the simplest possible way to use extends feature, but we could also use it for extending project for different areas. For example, we could have like a blog extension that's providing the components or page routes very soon to provide the blog section of the app. And this is basically also allowing us to support multi-app patterns using Nuxt and just extends functionality. It could be an NPM package or even a GitHub package. So it doesn't require team others to deploy their teams to an NPM. They could just create super normal Nuxt projects, and others can simply extend them without adding and copy pasting all of the boilerplate to their project by just specifying the extends key. And this extends could be also nested. So a team itself could extend from something else. And if this extension happens, the main project gets extended from both of them. You could read more about it in the C12 project. C12 is basically our new refactored way of loading and handling Nuxt3 configuration. And as always, we share the solutions that we make for Nuxt for everyone. So if you have your own project, you could basically benefit from C12. But you could also study C12 or test it more for providing more functionalities. It's interesting to say that Nitro project for itself is supporting the configuration, and this configuration is loaded exactly the same way that Nuxt is doing it, using the same package. So it just made it easier for not repeating the same logic 2 times. There are many things to also explore about this theming, which we hope to very soon use example section for better explaining about both extending and theming support, and also open sourcing Nitropack project very soon in the next week, as soon as finishing some refactors. But it's pretty much ready. There are proper tests for it, and it's already supporting more features for Nuxt3. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is Nuxt Insiders project. For a long time, in last almost 1 year, we didn't have enough chance to be in touch and involved with the community, and some of the Nuxt modules were updated. Basically, we was waiting for Nuxt3 and these toolings to be ready. So new modules are following these new best practices, and they don't need to frequently be updated because of Nuxt3 updates. We are planning to start a new group of insiders, which involves almost everyone from the ecosystem that is interested, making a Nuxt module, doing tweets, and writing articles. This allows us to share any further private projects with them, and also listing every project that we are working on in a public place. So everyone can know what's going on within Nuxt team. And if you are interested, there is a way to sign up and beta test new projects similar to Nitropack. And we are also sharing the framework meeting notes, which are happening every week. So the ecosystem knows what's going on inside Nuxt, what's blocking us, what can people help us to make the development faster. And this would be open for everyone that from the community that's interested to help us. So basically, we are extending our community and efforts with everyone that's interested to help us on Nuxt3. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks.